Part 37. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi Y. Chapter 361. Next, relying on the truth pill, two more informants planted by other forces were discovered during the interview. One was from the Shen family behind the fourth prince, and the other was from the Lin family behind the fifth prince. This is all expected. The rise of Muyuan star is obvious. It can be said that these forces cannot be ignored and even have far-reaching influence. As long as they can clearly see the benefits, they will definitely want to intervene in Muyuan star. This is just the first wave of people now, and there will definitely be a second, third, and fourth wave next. Bai Qianchun will pass the truth pill test, and all those who have no problem will be assigned to the security team. Even those who were previously eliminated by Shi Lian's screening, Bai Qianchun will be interviewed again using the truth pill. Facts have proved that Shi Lian does have a good eye. Those who have been eliminated are either people with no ambitions, short-sightedness, and just want to make a living. If someone like this pays a high price in the future and promises a lot of money, they will betray and sell out in a matter of minutes. Without Muyuan star, even if there is a shortage of people, such people cannot be used. Others are clueless or have excessive vanity, and cannot be used by people who are easily led and tempted. The remaining 8 are all personnel deployed by other forces. Shi Lian had seen someone behind them before but didn't know who the person behind them was, but now with the help of Zhenhua Wan, they dug up the foundations of these people in minutes, and some of them came from certain people. The big forces come to monitor Muyuan star, but there are also some small forces and small families who overestimate their capabilities and want to steal the medicine. After Bai Qianchun dug out their bases, without saying much, she searched the 11 spies, removed their optical brains, packed them, fed them poison, and sent them to be with Nongui and others. Don't waste the labor that comes to your door for free. Muyuan planet has a vast territory and vast land. The few large agricultural machines Bai Qianchun bought before are simply not enough, or they can't do detailed work, so they are short of people. What did they call this wave? They sent her a pillow just as she was about to take a nap. This was really sending goose feathers from 1,000 miles away, but the courtesy was light and the affection was heavy. Bai Qianchun was in a good mood and personally sent a few free laborers to work in Nongui, and inspected the farming situation along the way. After the tourists left, Nongui and others finished their work of selling pills and returned to the land again. They were sweating profusely and waving their hoe with a humming sound on the ground. As soon as he saw Bai Qianchun leading the people over, the clever Nongui immediately wiped the sweat that obscured his sight, and then trotted over in a hurry. He looked at Bai Qianchun with a flattering smile. "Star Master, do you have any orders? Do you want to arrange some big brothers for us to work together?" Nongui's eyes are really good. He saw at a glance those people whose hands were tied up with vines and being pulled over one after another like shackled prisoners. Then he looked at each of them, who looked dejected, or doubting life, or rolling his eyes as if he wanted to run away. He clicked his tongue inwardly. Isn't this group of brothers who suffered the same fate as him at the hands of the Star Master? Nongui, who was stared at angrily by 11 brothers in distress, grinned widely and looked quite happy. Haha, finally a group of unlucky guys who were as unlucky as them came. Suddenly, he felt an inexplicable excitement in his heart, and he wanted to cross his arms for a while. Look, someone was stupid enough to join them again. They will no longer be considered the lowest level personnel in the future. Nongui's eyes were shining. He rubbed his hands and looked at the 11 people eagerly, as if he was looking at some big fat guy. Bai Qianchun handed the vine he was holding to Nongui. "Well, these people are indeed going to arrange to work with you. If you have performed well during this period, I will leave these people under your control. Come on, as long as the person doesn't die, you can do whatever you want, but if one of them escapes, you and your brothers will have to sit together." Nongui and the few people who were waving hose and listening quietly with their ears straightened up immediately. Nongui immediately patted his chest to express his loyalty, saying that he would never let them escape. His brothers also nodded like chickens one by one. Yes, 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 they must have kept a close eye on him. He couldn't even sit down. It was so painful when the poisonous pills took effect. Bai Qianchun was satisfied. Then his serious face softened and he smiled. He glanced around the land being cultivated and asked in a good mood, "What are you planning to plant on this piece of land?" Nongui's face, which had been tanned by the sun during this period, suddenly became energetic. There was a bit of pride in his tone. "Strawberries are going to be planted here. I suggested to Mr. Yechin before that we could create a public opinion poll on star.com about what to plant, and let netizens on star.com vote, and then we would choose the top fruits and vegetables for planting." No, not long ago, the results of the first phase of voting are out. The 5 most popular fruits are durian, cherry, strawberry, grape, and blueberry. The area we were allocated is a plain area with flat terrain, which is just suitable for growing strawberries. Over there 1 acre of land has been reclaimed and strawberry seedlings have been planted, and now this is the 2nd acre of land. Nongui said with a smile, and also told his role, seizing the opportunity to show his merit. Bai Qianchun glanced at him with a smile, understanding what he meant, but she had no intention of letting go. As a prisoner, he wanted to express his merits and break away from his status as a prisoner before his sins were atoned for. It was a beautiful thought. If Shi Lian hadn't been here before, she might have drawn him a big cake to give him some sweetness for Nongui's sake, but now she has Shi Lian, a secretary who is more useful than Nongui. Nongui not so important. She nodded slightly calmly. "Yes, how are the seedlings when they are newly sown? I heard that strawberry seedlings are delicate and difficult to take care of. What difficulties did you encounter when sowing?" Upon hearing this, Nongui knew that he still couldn't get rid of his identity as a prisoner at this level. After being lost for a moment, he quickly regained his energy and answered the question seriously. "There is no problem with the strawberry seedlings. Now there is abundant wood element on Wuyuan star. These plant seedlings are as if they have been soaked in fairy water. Every plant is full of water. They can last for a day even if they are not watered. Star Master does not have to worry. However, there are difficulties. After the recovery of Wuyuan star, the voles in the ground also recovered and overpopulated. They burrowed in the ground in groups and liked to dig up seeds and gnaw on seedlings. We planted the first batch. I was unprepared when I was there, and half an acre of strawberry seedlings were eaten by these little things. Last night, my 2 brothers and I took turns guarding and saved that acre of land. I think that in the future, large-scale reclamation and planting of Wuyuan star will be needed. Take precautions against rats. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 362. Bai Qianchun nodded understandingly. "Okay, I understand. You guys will stay here for 2 more days, and I'll go back and make some rat repellent." Nongui and others had no doubt about their Star Master's ability in making medicine, and immediately flattered him happily, saying that they were waiting for the rat repellent medicine. Facts have also proven that Bai Qianchun never overstepped her mark in pharmaceuticals. She prepared the rat repellent early the next morning, then transferred it to the fields and started using it. The star citizens of Wuyuan star have used it and they all agree that they are no longer afraid of those chubby but hateful field mice stealing seedlings and eating them, and they can continue to sow happily. In addition to rodent repellent, Bai Qianchun also received requests for help from star citizens in planting, and then she successively introduced pesticides, plant culture fluids and other agricultural drugs that are beneficial to plant growth. The research and development configuration was developed. Although she did not personally participate in farming, she also made a considerable contribution to the Muyuan planet's planting industry. It is worth mentioning that these agricultural medicines have also been widely praised after being put on the official store of Muyuanxing specialty products. Many plantations and planting stars have come to buy them, and they buy them as if they are free. Every time they are put on the shelves, the speed at which they are sold out is the same as popular pills such as beauty pills and whitening pills. It can be seen that Baiqianchun's medicines must be high-quality products. The name of the medicine god of Muyuan Star Lord also followed Baiqianchun Lu, who successively launched a series of magical pills such as Shenfa pill, Wufa pill, blood building pill, qi building pill, repair pill, black jade purple gold pill, etc. The meatballs spread more and more widely, and eventually became famous throughout the empire. It can be seen that Muyuan Star's route centered on pills and supplemented by planting industry has developed quite smoothly in the early stage under Baiqianchun's control. In less than a year, her Jupiter pills had even replaced the Apothecary Association as the authority and became popular throughout the empire. It is worth mentioning that after the Pharmacists Association was almost closed down by her, the old president of the Pharmacists Association shamelessly shut down the Pharmacists Association, and then kicked out some people with impure motives who were inserted into it by others. After the arrival, a group of elite members who were pure drug addicts rushed to Bai Qianchun to ask for shelter. When Bai Qianchun refused, the old president became shameless. He roped in Mizu and Cao Tiao to help him speak, and begged Bai Qianchun with snot and tears without caring about his image. What else could be done? After Bai Qianchun assessed them one by one and determined that they were sincerely seeking to become apprentices, she could only accept this group of free laborers with reluctance on their faces. But, no, accept it? He formed a group of disciples who, although they were old, had good understanding. Once these apprentices were accepted, Bai Qianchun had more people under her sect, and the benefits also came. Someone helped to share the work of developing new pills. In addition, she took over the elites of the entire Pharmacist Association, so as a result, Muyuanxing became the most authoritative and well-deserved presence in pharmaceuticals in the entire empire. Jupiter has also become the temple of all pharmacists. People who study pharmacy and medicine want to make a pilgrimage to Jupiter. It's a pity that Bai Qianchun stopped accepting those elites from the Pharmacists Association. First, in terms of understanding of medicinal materials and medicines, those who can join the Pharmacist Association are already considered to be at the top of the Huayao Empire. She does not need to accept less qualified people. Although she wants to preach and promote medicine pills, she also not all crooked melons and cracked dates can be harvested. Secondly, it is troublesome to have too many apprentices, especially since each of them is very easy to learn. Facing those pairs of eyes eager for knowledge, Bai Qianchun couldn't bear to refuse, so the teaching time was added up, and the apprentices, if more were added, wouldn't her lecture time and the time to answer questions after class have to be delayed even longer? In order to save more of her own time, Bai Qianchun decisively decided to suspend the recruitment of apprentices, waiting for these batches to understand the basics first. And then consider continuing to collect after you can leave. Time is a little ferry that can't stand the tossing. Nearly a year passed by twisting and turning among the flowers. In the past nearly a year, Muyuan Star's infrastructure construction has been vigorously carried out. The amount of money in Muyuan Star's official account poured in like running water and was spread out like running water. After this large amount of money was spread, the effect is also significant. The population on Jupiter has increased significantly. It was originally only a few dozen households of the natives of Jupiter, but now the number of immigrants has increased, and it has become thousands of households. The security team has grown from having only 2 commanders, Shi Kun and Fei Meng, as captains and deputy commanders, to thousands of members. After practicing the body training technique, all of them have become strong-backed, and the members of the security team with strong bodies have also become the brightest landscape in the Jupiter star. There are also 360 large-scale planting areas that have been reclaimed in separate areas, where medicinal materials, vegetables, fruits, and vegetables are growing vigorously. The livestock breeding area expanded to the 2 mountains behind, and later aquaculture was started. The meat here can completely make the people of Muyuan Star self-sufficient, and can even be exported. Because the pasture on Muyuan Star is good, the meat quality of the livestock and poultry raised is not bad. After a batch of meat was sold in the official Muyuan Star specialty store because there was not enough to eat, many netizens complained want to repurchase. Green City was also repaired and rebuilt. High-rise buildings were erected one after another, and villas of various sizes were built one after another. Almost everyone on Muyuan planet bought a house in Green City, and those with more money bought villas. Few bought apartments, and moved into the city one after another, revitalizing Green Kui City. Even Bai Qianchun bought a villa in the center of the city, adjacent to the one Feng Yuyu asked her to help choose. In addition, the renovation of her Star-Lord mansion has also been completed. The gorgeous garden style is combined with the rough manor style, with high buildings and rockery corridors. Every frame has a sense of a soft waterside garden. The architectural design skills of father and son Yequan and Yeqiang are also getting better and better as the Star-Lord mansion is gradually completed. As for the large manor farmland behind the building, except for a few fruit trees that Bai Qianchun likes, the rest has been turned into a planting ground for medicinal materials. Bai Qianchun also built a laboratory in the Star-Lord's mansion, where medicinal materials are needed. You can go directly to the back of the manor and pick it yourself. The hilltop next to the Star-Lord's mansion also made drastic changes. Bai Qianchun invested a large amount of money to build another manor, which covers an area larger than the Star-Lord's mansion. It is called the Experimental Garden. Bai Qianchun regarded this place as the work area for his apprentices. The laboratory, medicinal material planting area, and cultivation area were all arranged to create the best research conditions for the apprentices. As the cornerstone of Muyuanxing, Yeoanzi must be given a Pinean, and this workspace with complete facilities in all aspects that is conducive to Yeoanzi's research is Pinean. Jupiter also radiates outward from the center of this experimental park, becoming the foundation of the entire Jupiter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 363. Wood Source Star. In a villa in the central area of Green City. Bai Qianchun was lying on the sofa, squinting her dark eyes as she looked at the red silk cell attractant order sent by Feng Yuyu and the movements of several major forces in the empire. She couldn't help but frown. Muyuanxing is prospering now, and it is really nice to have a small life where she can collect money while lying down, but it does not mean that she will be content with the status quo. She understands the principle of being prepared for danger in times of peace. Therefore, she would check every imperial intelligence sent by Feng Yuyu. She could not refuse the advantage of being able to know the trends of all parties in the empire at home, and the information was priceless. Her attitude towards Feng Yuyu had become much better recently, too. He would reciprocate the favor and provide some pills to the 3rd Legion under Feng's control first. Back to the topic, according to so many intelligence updates, in the past nearly a year, as the external threat to the Orc Empire has subsided, and there is no need to unite externally, things have begun to happen within the Huayao Empire, because before in order to fight against the Orc Legion, all major forces hold military power. The dispersion of military power is a taboo for an empire. These people who hold power and are unwilling to be subordinate to others will eventually lose their patience and start engaging in internal divisions and struggles. No, this is also true. Ever since the peace agreement was signed with the Orc Empire, several major forces within the Huayao Empire have begun to make moves. Recently, Several major forces have made moves. They have fought openly and secretly many times. The current situation on the main star is also quite tense. Represented by the Shen family behind the fourth Prince Jin Yurun, the Shen family has been in the empire in recent months. They were jumping up and down, reaching into the Congress. What is the Congress? It is the representative elected by the empire from the civilians of the major planets. It is a platform for communicating between the empire's upper-level decision-makers and ordinary civilians. It aims to understand public opinion, formulate reasonable laws and regulations, and manage the central heart of the empire's various operations. It is also the central institution for civilians. It is a bridge with the imperial nobles, so it can be said to be extremely important. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the backbone supporting the Huayao Empire. Although the empire's nobles are now powerful, the number of nobles and powerful families is ultimately not as large as the large number of civilians. 90% of the soldiers in the major legions controlled by the families are recruited from civilians, so the number of people in the empire is the power of the huge civilian population should not be underestimated, which is why the 31st Legion of Civilian Marshal Huo Quancheng suddenly emerged in the early days, overpowering several established legions in the empire and becoming the number one legion in terms of strength. Because Huo Quancheng is an ordinary civilian and comes from the common people. He is a hero among civilians. He has natural advantages and will be supported by ordinary people. Countless civilians with excellent qualifications will give priority to his regiment, which belongs to the 1st Civilian Marshal Huo Quancheng. The advantage. Therefore, the principle that water can carry and capsize a boat is completely feasible in the empire. Therefore, Congress, as a bridge between nobles and common people, is of great significance in the empire. The Shen family wants to get involved here, which shows the ambition of them or the fourth Prince Jin Yurun they support. In addition to the Shen family, the Lin family, the family of the fifth prince's mother and concubine, is also restless. Recently, the Lin family has also suddenly emerged. They are fighting with the Shen family like two black-eyed roosters. The smoke and war has also spread to Muiyuan planet. In order to grab the priority to purchase a batch of large healing pills, the two families also secretly tried to put excessive pressure on Bai Jianchun. The Shen family secretly threatened to delay the export of Muiyuan Star's building materials, and the Lin family also took advantage of Bai Jianchun. Pure wants to buy some medicinal seeds and wants to use the threat of seeds to win her over. Bai Jianchun seriously suspected that these two families had been having too much trouble recently and had lost their minds. Can she, Bai Jianchun, be someone who will accept threats? Although the Shen family controls the largest manufacturer of building materials, there are no other manufacturers. Can't she find other companies to cooperate? As for seeds, when Feng Yuya gave away clothes and gems and jewelry before, she expressed the idea of giving seeds if she wanted to. After that, the man sent various seeds to Muiyuan Star. Although the seeds held by the Lin family were rare, it's rare, but not impossible. Why bother fighting with this one in the hands of the Lin family? Or maybe the Shen family and the Lin family thought it was just a small thing to give her the right of first refusal, and thought she would agree, so they acted unscrupulously. It's a pity that Bai Jianchun is not a soft persimmon. She can be pinched by anyone who wants to. She is a real tiger and will never compromise. If you try to seduce her with benefits, she might even make up a reasonable one. The reason was to give out the right of first refusal, but they didn't, and even made vague threats secretly. Haha, what the hell, it seems that because of the fourth and fifth princes, they think too highly of themselves after gaining power. Bai Jianchun didn't, and ignored them completely, leaving them in trouble. In the end, she did not break up with them. After all, both the Shen family and the Lin family still need her pills. Although the investigation of the red silk cells is currently in trouble, they are still in the 1st Army, 3rd Army, and an internal self-examination in the 31st Legion revealed that the red silk cell attractant was only circulated among these 3 legions. The other legions did not know about it, but Baiken Chun's Great Healing Pill, Repair Pill, Vitality Pill, and other military pills, it is also very popular among several major legions and is almost indispensable. Therefore, as long as the Lin family and Shen family pharmaceuticals are still fighting for the throne and striving for the upper reaches, they will definitely not dare to break up with her easily before they take the throne, but they will definitely have a grudge against her. However, Bai Qianchun didn't pay attention to this grudge. She had Feng Yuyu's Feng family's 3rd Army as her backers, as well as the Invisible Alliance Imperial Prince Jin Yuchen and the 1st Civilian Marshal Huo Marshal. She didn't need to be afraid yet. Lin family and Shen family. In addition to the Lin family and the Shen family, there are also power disputes between other forces that affect her and Mu Yuanxing. After all, judging from Mu Yuanxing's recent development, it is undoubtedly a piece of fat, and whoever can take a bite can gain a few pounds. But with the situation analysis and intelligence of the imperial forces provided by Feng Yuyu, she and Mu Yuanxing were able to avoid it every time without any danger, and would not be dragged into this chess game of power disputes. But avoiding is not what she wants. What she wants is that she has something to rely on, that she is so strong that no one dares to touch her, instead of relying entirely on Feng Yuyu and the other 2 invisible allies. Therefore, she was bound to win back the Duke Bai's mansion, which was controlled by Bai Zhuangquan, and the 9th Army. This time she frowned after seeing the information sent by Feng Yuyu because the news was about the internal situation of the 9th Legion. It was reported that Marshal de Rong, the biggest obstacle to Bai Zhuangquan's control of the 9th Army, was ill, which was likely to affect his lifespan. Bai Zhuangquan took the opportunity to please him and tried to impress him with benefits, hoping that he could defeat the entire 9th Army in the face of public expectations. Received in hand. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lan Shan Lu Zy. Chapter 364. When she saw the news, Bai Qianchun knew she couldn't wait any longer. She had to go to the 9th Army Corps as soon as possible. Not only to save Marshal de Rong's life, she also had to establish prestige in the 9th Army Corps so that she could win over the 9th Army Corps. After taking over the 9th Legion, he truly took control of it. Coincidentally, the military academy enrollment is about to begin, and entering the 9th Army Corps through the military academy is her best way. In the living room of the villa, Shi Lian had known for a long time that his Star Master would go to the 1st Military Academy, so it was no surprise to her that she wanted to leave Mu Yuan's Star. There was a warm smile on his ordinary face, and his expression did not change much, but yeah, Mr. Qin and several elders on Mu Yuan planet looked worried. Star-Lord, your bodyguards haven't been formed yet. Why don't you let Shi Kun lead the security team to escort you there? It's not safe on the starship. As old people on Mu Yuan Star, they were really scared, because they counted the previous Mu Yuan Star-Lords in detail. Regardless of whether they were good or bad, almost 1/3 of them were lost during the voyage of the starship. Wang Zi, the previous Mu Yuan Star Master, was a typical example. They were indifferent to Wang Zi's death, and even patted their thighs and said it was a good death. But the Star Master in front of them is different from Wang Zi. In just 1 year it seems that the Star Master in front of him is definitely the Bright Master, the Bright Master who will lead their Mu Yuan Star to glory again, and even create greater glory. If something happens to her, or even dies, neither they nor Mu Yuanxing can bear it. Facing the worried eyes of several old men, Bai Qianchun raised a soft smile and said comfortingly, "Don't worry, the people from the security brigade should stay on Mu Yuan Star. Mu Yuan Star's defense is still not enough. I won't, don't worry, the number of security guards will continue to increase. As for me." She took out a porcelain bottle from the space, and then poured a black pill out of the porcelain bottle and stuffed it into her mouth. 3 seconds later, they witnessed a face-changing stunt. I saw Baikin Chun's delicate and impressive face, which became more beautiful and beautiful like a flower in bloom because it was opened, gradually turned into a face with clear features and a very low sense of presence at first glance. Even that face, she has the most spiritual intelligence in her eyes. When she smiles, her round peach blossom eyes that are slightly charming with a slight hook at the end of her eyes have also elongated a bit, turning into a pair of long, narrow, and cold red phoenix eyes, which are the most identifiable. Changed. This is a new image that Bai Qianchun specially created for herself. It is beautiful and cool, but strangely has no memory points and makes people forget it. In order to achieve this effect, she has already started preparing for it, and she is still doing it. In a few drug fusion experiments, various herbs were tried to be added to the Yurong Dan to achieve the effect of reducing the sense of presence. She proved successful. The old men were all excited when they saw it, their eyes were shining. Is this the Enrith flower? Bai Qianchun glanced over with her long and narrow red phoenix eyes, and her thin lips evoked a cold smile. She had a firm grasp of the scale of the cold beauty. Well, it is a disguise pill made with Enrith flower, that is, I gave it another extract called ghost face flower. It is not like Enrith flower, which can only last for 15 minutes. It lasts longer. It can last for a month, and there are no side effects if I take it continuously. Moreover, I have specially set it to maintain my current appearance. Who else can tell that I am the Muyuan Star Master? Then she took out another porcelain bottle from the dimensional Nuri and threw a dark pill into her mouth. This is called the voice-changing pill. It can change a person's voice. It can also maintain a person's voice 1 month. Sure enough, when I heard her voice, it was several degrees colder, cold and sweet, more natural and pure than Baikin Chun's originally slightly sweet but deliberately lowered voice that sounded more mature and cold, like the collision of jade bells in the ice. Voice. Shi Lian glanced at her, a little suspicious that she didn't like her previous voice, so she had such a voice-changing pill. But the effect was remarkable. No one could tell there was anything wrong with the voice, and there was nothing wrong with her face. Shi Lian looked at her cold and beautiful face several times, and he also keenly noticed something was wrong. The face she put on was obviously very beautiful, and she was a cold beauty, but how should I put it, it was not very impressive. I couldn't remember what she looked like. I almost looked away from her face, and then when I thought about it, I couldn't remember exactly what she looked like. It seems that she also did other tricks on her disguise. There was a smile on Shi Lian's lips. Sure enough, with the Star Master's ability, there was nothing she couldn't do. After working under her for a year, he already understood that the Star Master was a genius, and an extremely smart and courageous genius. Got it? What Shi Lian could notice, several old men also noticed naturally. They looked at Baikin Chun's face and marveled at it, and their worries were relieved a lot. Bai Qianchun struck while the iron was hot and gave up the idea of several old men to send escorts to the main star with her. After that, Bai Qianchun returned to the topic of summoning them to the villa. She was about to leave Muyuan planet, and all matters on Muyuan planet had to be arranged. After the Star Master of Muyuan Star left, the biggest person was Mr. Yechin, the general manager. Other trivial matters were left to Shi Lian, the capable and smart first secretary. As for important matters, they could do it online connection. Feng Yuya gave her an encrypted closed communication channel, which was just in time to be used as a communication channel for the top management of Muyuan Star. There was no need to worry about leaks. The one produced by Feng Group was quite reliable. Regarding the matter of red silk cells, although the investigation progress is slow, the news has not been spread to the people behind the scenes. It can be seen that the security of the encrypted channel of Feng Group is quite high. After explaining everything clearly, Bai Qianchun went to the experimental garden in person, took the apprentices who were obsessed with medicinal research out of the research room, and told them that he was about to leave Jupiter and what he would study in the future. It's all up to them to get reborn, so don't bother her on the Star Network if nothing happens. This year, she was drunk after being blocked by these pill-obsessed disciples asking questions. When she was about to leave Muyuan Star, she breathed a sigh of relief. After offloading part of the affairs of Muyuan Star, Bai Qian-chun came to the starry skyport alone early the next morning while the sky was still dark. As for why they were on the road alone, it was because Leng Xiao, Ye Yang, Jian Yang, and Du Li left early. They had a business to discuss before. Bai Qian-chun simply handed over the matter to them and asked them to go out early and take a look around. Play around a few planets and then go directly to the main star. Leng Xiao and Ye Yang were trapped on Muyuan planet as soon as they came to the star. They haven't seen the outside world yet. They had long wanted to go out and see it. This time they had this opportunity, and they packed up without saying a word. I took Du Li, the tour guide, and Jian Yang, who was also going to the military academy, to go together. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 365. At the Muyuan Star Airport, it was still bright in the early morning. 3 figures swayed in the middle of the dim road, panting and trotting over from a short distance away, and gradually appeared. Ho, no, I can't do it anymore, Xiao Kan, are you in a hurry? The starship must have passed by. A middle-aged woman with an honest and simple appearance was panting heavily and sweating profusely on her forehead. She asked her son, who was pulling her in front of her, with her eyes full of urgency. Don't worry, Mom, there's still 1 minute left, and I saw a figure waiting in front of me. The starship must not have been missed yet. A young boy's voice came next. He was breathing calmly and didn't seem to be breathing because of running. Rapid. Bai Qian-chun, who was standing in the starry skyport and waiting for the starship to arrive, heard the sound and looked back curiously. At this moment, 3 people had already ran over. They were a family of 3, a simple couple. An unpretentious middle-aged couple and a young man who is also dressed simply but looks handsome and sunny. The middle-aged woman wiped her sweat, bent down and supported her knees with her hands, and took a few deep breaths. It's okay, I caught up. It's all your dad's fault. Yesterday he decided to send you to the main star to attend the military academy in person. After the exam, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep in bed. I kept turning over and over, which made me unable to sleep well. Who knew that I almost lost time by oversleeping in the morning? The honest middle-aged man stood aside silently, looking at his wife with a pair of depressed eyes. It was obvious that the woman was so excited that she didn't sleep all night and used him as an excuse, but there was nothing she could do about it. Now that her daughter-in-law was the head of the family, he could only silently shoulder the blame. The young man next to him gave his father a sympathetic look and stood silently listening to his mother's complaints. It was obvious that the father and son were very used to his wife's, mother, style, and knew that the best way now was to remain silent. Speak, otherwise they will suffer. Then the middle-aged woman continued to mutter, thanks to our Star Master for being wise and building a road outside the starry skyport. Otherwise, it would be like when we first came to Jupiter, there would be all kinds of tangled roots underground. The roots of the tree, we will definitely not be able to make it in time today. The father and son next to him nodded in agreement. The dull middle-aged man rarely said a word. It's our Star Master. The middle-aged woman immediately put a smile on her face, slapped her thigh and said excitedly, you're right, it's mainly because our Star Master is good. Fortunately, I didn't stop Diffusa from working up the courage to come here to marry Xiaohong from next door. Yuan-Xing applies for the job, otherwise if we were still in our hometown, Kahuaxing, how could we have such a good life now? We can live in the city, have a beautiful house to live in, have delicious natural food to eat, and now we can still have money to send Xiaokan in person. Go to the main star to take the exam for the first military academy. Our family really came to Muyuan Star at the right time. Not only did Dayfusa become the captain of the security team, but after practicing the trick given by the Star Master, he became a strong-backed man with slim arms and legs. Our family Xiaokan also has the wood-type superpower. After training, he was promoted from C level to S level. This is a rapid progress. If it weren't for the abundant elements of Muyuan, Seeing Mu, and the Star Master who kindly sent out video tips on superpower training, where would our Xiaokan have the confidence to go now? Go to the first military academy. The middle-aged man nodded repeatedly after hearing this, and finally couldn't bear to say a kind word to his son. Our little Kan's ability has improved so much in 1 year, which shows that he has the talent to live up to his own expectations. Otherwise, why didn't other people's children arrive? It's S level. Speaking of this, the middle-aged man, as a father, still had a hint of pride in his tone. Bai Qianshun, who was listening silently in the corner, twitched the corner of her mouth slightly, showing a slight embarrassment. She didn't expect the stars to praise her so much in private. She was in a good mood and noticed the sentence "marry the girl next door." She probably knew whose family this family of 3 belonged to. Su Fu from the security team was the first person she recruited using the truth pill herself. This year he has been working diligently in the security team, and his abilities are not small. With his diligent practice of physical training and his somewhat clever mind, he has now climbed to the position of 3rd in command of the security team. Shi Kun even praised this guy in front of her, saying that she had a sharp eye and had picked out such a talent in the first interview. In fact, Bai Qianshun, who only wants to strengthen the security team and throws it away as long as her character is good, doesn't feel happy even if she is praised. Although she recruited people, she is not very discerning. Little girl, the family of 3 who were still praising the Star Master didn't know when they turned their attention to Bai Qianshun, who was standing alone not far away. The middle-aged woman turned her head and said Zhu. Bai Qianshun showed a simple and kind smile. Little girl, are you also going to the main star to take the military school exam? Which military school are you going to? Why didn't your family send you to go with them? Bai Qianshun took a step back and looked over with a pair of cold red phoenix eyes. She remained calm and consistent with her external image and persona and simply replied, going to the first military academy without parents. Oh, the middle-aged woman immediately stopped her smile, looked at her with pitiful eyes, and said apologetically, I'm sorry, little girl, look at my broken mouth and everything comes out. Well, my son, also you are going to the first military academy to take the exam. Why don't you come with us? It's not safe for a pretty girl like you to go out alone. There are a lot of bad people now. Even though we are going to take the Sheng family starship, we still can't guarantee our safety. What an accident! As soon as she finished speaking, the Sheng family starship happened to have parked in the starport and opened its hatch. Without waiting for Bai Qianshun to answer, the middle-aged woman enthusiastically pulled her towards the starship. Let's get on the starship quickly. Our Dayfusa bought us a first-class cabin. Where are you, cabin? Bai Qianshun, who was pulled passively, said, I am also in the first-class cabin. The father and son, who couldn't speak at all, looked at each other and followed behind to board the ship with a humming tone. After boarding the starship, Bai Qianshun found that she couldn't get rid of this warm-hearted aunt. She deliberately avoided it for a while on the grounds of going to the toilet, hoping that when she came back, the family of 3 would forget about her or leave first. But no. When she came back, the 3 of them were still standing there and looking forward to it. Then, as soon as she showed up, she was immediately spotted by her enthusiastic aunt. The aunt happily walked over to her, took her arm, and asked her with concern. Did something happen on the way? Why did you come back so late? Bai Qianshun looked depressed. How did she recognize him at a glance? After taking Yi Rong Dan, isn't her face easily overlooked and forgotten? As a result, the ant answered her that it turned out that this ant had a problem with remembering faces, so she developed the habit of remembering people by looking at their clothes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 366. It just so happened that Bai Jianchun wore a fairy-like white dress that matched her temperament today in order to highlight her cool persona. It was very memorable, and her aunt recognized her at a glance. Bai Jianchun, you were careless. But fortunately, her main thought was just to reduce her sense of presence, not to make people lose their memory, so although she was a little depressed, it didn't put her in a bad mood. As for the invitation from the warm-hearted Aunt Huang, since she couldn't get rid of it, she had no choice but to join. Bai Jianchun maintained a cool persona to the outside world. Although she didn't talk much, she was not arrogant or rude. She listened carefully to Aunt Wang's words and occasionally responded with a few words, and she soon became familiar with Aunt Huang. An hour later, Bai Jianchun was resting in the room for a while when she heard the doorbell ringing from outside. When she opened the door, she saw that the person outside was Aunt Wang's son, Su Ken. Su Ken showed her a friendly and shy smile, looked at her with bright shy eyes, called her sister, and then inviting her to participate in the Star Citizen activities of Muyuan planet. Muyuan Star Citizen activities, Bai Jianchun looked at him with question marks on his forehead. Yeah, doesn't Xiao Chun know? Aunt Huang changed into something a little more glamorous and squeezed over from the side, squeezing her son aside. Bai Jianchun shook her head, she really didn't know this. Aunt Huang's smiling face showed a bit of surprise, then she stared at her cold face and took the initiative to find an excuse for her. Maybe Xiao Chun, you don't like to hear gossip, so you didn't listen. I said it. Xiao Chun, do you know Du Le? He is the young man in charge of the sales of our Muyuangxing pills. I heard recently that he resigned and was replaced by someone else. He is also going to take the entrance exam for the first military academy. Bai Jianchun nodded suspiciously. Of course she knew that the person who replaced Du Le at the Muyuangxing official specialty store was named by her personally. But what does this have to do with Muyuangxing activities? It's good to know Du Le, Aunt Huang explained with a proud look on her face. Speaking of Director Du Le, according to the earliest star citizens on Muyuan planet, Director Du Le came with the Star Master. The person who came to Jupiter was the first person on Jupiter to know the Star Master. He said that when he and the Star Master came to Jupiter to ride on the starship, they earned star coins by selling fruit along the way. He earned the first pot of gold for Muyuan planet. Therefore, we star citizens of Muyuan planet will sell fruits and vegetables every time we take the starship to experience the feeling of the Star Master earning the first pot of gold, in order to pay tribute to the great Star Lord pays tribute. Star Lord Bai Jianchun, even the embarrassed toes can dig out a small villa. Is her image deified in the eyes of the stars? In the end, Bai Jianchun, who was pretending to be an ordinary Muyuan star citizen, walked out of the house and followed the mother and son to participate in the Muyuan Star Experience event. Yes, Bai Jianchun used her real name this time. As for the name of Muyuan Star Master, Guyi, what does it have to do with Bai Jianchun? Anyway, except for Feng Yuyu, Yao Wengxian, and the Imperial Prince Jin Yuchen, no one outside knows that Muyuan Star Master Guyi's real name is Bai Jianchun. Chun is the only heir to the Beidou Palace. Bai Jianchun had been careful not to reveal her original name when she started the Muyuan Star sightseeing tour. She always called herself an ancient doctor, so her original name could be used. As for whether this name would attract Bai Zhuangken's attention, Bai Qianchun's lips curled up slightly. She was eager to do so. She deliberately attracted Bai Zhuangken's attention. As long as the faces are different, she can refuse to admit it. After all, there are many people with the same name. Hey, here, are you three here to rent a stall? I can help you introduce the stall. When the three of them arrived at the door of the vegetable market where wood-type superpowers gathered, a simple-looking young man jumped out from the door. He had a flattering smile on his wheat-colored face, and his eyes were particularly smart. Turned around twice. Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows. What a coincidence. She knew this person. He was not the same Gao Yang who had reserved the place and managed the Starship vegetable market when she and Du Le were selling fruit on the Starship. This kid looks a little fatter than a year ago. It seems that he has a good life this year and is living a healthy life. How do you know we are here to rent a stall? And Huang looked at him suspiciously, carefully protecting the two children, Su Kan and Bai Qianchun, behind her. Gao Yang was not angry, and explained with a smile, because I just happened to pass by Mu Yuen planet an hour ago, and auntie, you look like a star citizen of Mu Yuen planet with your temperament, and now you have come to report to my market not long after you boarded the starship. Well, 90% of them are here to participate in your event on Mu Yuen planet, so I guessed that you were going to rent a stall, and it seems I was right. Aunt Huang breathed a sigh of relief and stared at him. You guessed it right. I don't know how the young people today grew up. They all have flexible and smart minds, but they are definitely not as good as the star masters of our Jupiter planet. That's it? Gao Yang grinned, showing his white teeth. Then I really can't compare with Master Mu Yuan. I'm not even worthy of carrying the boss's shoes. He hangs out on the starship almost every day, so he naturally knows that these Mu Yuan star citizens know the best virtues of their star master. Not long ago, he happened to meet Du Le and confirmed the boss who sold fruit with Du Le. It's Mu Yuan Star Lord. If you're not convinced, just kneel down. Then Aunt Huang said again, as for renting a stall, there is no need. I asked my friend to come over and rent it first. As he spoke, he turned around and looked at Bai Qianchun. Xiao Chun, I asked your Uncle Su to rent 2 stalls, which are adjacent to each other. You don't need to rent any more. Of course, if you don't plan to set up a stall, then we can use it ourselves, and it just so happens that Xiao Ken is also good at it, so it's no problem for him to create and support a stall on the spot. Bai Qianchun's eyes flashed with surprise. No, I'm also a wood-type superpower, so I can set up a stall. Aunt Wang's simple face showed a loving smile. That's it, let's go in. Then she turned to Gao Yang and said kindly, young man, you can continue to entertain other guests, our stall has been rented. Okay, then I wish Auntie a great success in setting up a stall. Gao Yang had a big smile on his face and waved to them enthusiastically. Aunt Huang led the 2 people to walk in the crowd, still praising Gao Yang. That young man has a good temperament, and he is smooth in dealing with people. Even if the business is ruined, he can still smile and bless us warmly. He is such a good young man. Xiaokan, you learn a little. If you can learn the smooth temperament of that young man just now, I won't have to worry. Su Kan nodded obediently. Bai Qianchun raised her eyes and glanced at Aunt Huang. Maybe Auntie could think in another direction. For example, this place belongs to Gao Yang, and as long as she rents the stall, she will take care of his business. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 367. As the 3 of them walked, they realized that something was wrong in front of them. Many people had gathered together, and they were bustling and talking. Aunt Wang's originally kind and simple face was filled with worry. She stood on her toes and stretched her neck to look forward. What happened in front? The stall your dad rented is right in front. Could something have happened? Bar. Yes, it shouldn't be. Dad is not a troublemaker. Su Kan also frowned on his young and shy face. Like Aunt Huang, he stood on tiptoes and stretched his neck. Both mother and son had the same worried expression. Although his dad is honest and won't offend anyone, he can't stop others from making trouble for him. His dad's boring temperament can't beat him, so he might suffer a loss. Baikin Chun's cold face frowned. Don't be anxious, just squeeze to the front and take a look. Then, under the surprised expressions of the two of them, she walked over, grabbed someone with one hand, and pushed her way into the crowd. Hey, what are you doing? Who is so unruly? Stop crowding. Damn, who stepped on me? Damn it, I almost fell to pieces when I pushed you. Damn you bastard, don't let me catch you, otherwise I will make you look good. After a commotion of swearing in the crowd, the culprit had already squeezed in with Aunt Huang, mother and son. Mother and son had big mouths with the same expression of surprise, and then turned their heads to the left and right to look at Bai Qianchun in the middle. Su Ken looked shocked. Ah, who am I, where am I, what happened just now? He felt like he was dragged in by Sister Bai without touching anyone just now. Right, I must have remembered correctly, he really didn't meet anyone else just now. In his eyes, those people were like being slapped to both sides by a big invisible hand, and then the three of them were separated from the middle crowd. Passed through the gap that came out. Aunt Huang slapped her thigh, with a look of realization on her face. Xiao Chun, have you also practiced the Star Master's bodybuilding technique? My eldest son has practiced this thing, and he can hit invisible objects with one palm. The strength is very similar to what you just did, but you can control the strength well, but my eldest son can't. I asked him to gently pat down the plums on the branches, but he patted down the whole tree. It's broken. With an embarrassed expression on Su Can's shy face, he reminded in a low voice, Mom, what Sister Bai practiced is probably not my brother's. My brother's characteristics after training are very obvious. They are all big and round. Aunt Huang glanced at Bai Qianchun, and immediately suppressed her smile in embarrassment. That's right, Xiao Kun's slender figure is not the same, and the one practiced by Dafusy and others that can increase body shape is not suitable for girls to practice at home. Bai Qianchun kept her cool persona unchanged, and just nodded calmly. It's the same technique, suitable for girls to practice. Aunt Huang is worried about Uncle Su. You should first find where Uncle Su is. Oh, that's right, it's better to find him first. Aunt Huang knew what was going on and didn't say much. If the star citizens on the Mu Yun planet do well and accumulate enough contribution points, they can exchange them for benefits exclusive to the Mu Yun star citizens, such as the bodybuilding techniques practiced by Dafusy of her family. It is estimated that Xiao Chun has also redeemed similar skills. Law. Their star masters are very capable, so it's not surprising that they can come up with some weird and precious things. But no matter what, these things are secrets in their Jupiter planet and cannot be talked about outside. Aunt Huang quickly turned around and looked around. Seeing that the surroundings were still in commotion because of what happened just now, and no one noticed them for the time being, she breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did she have the time to see what happened ahead. I saw three groups of people standing in the middle of the open space. One group was three sturdy men with red armbands, who should be the security guards of the market. The other group was a fat man with an angry look on his face. He glared hatefully at the last group of teenagers and children across from him, and cursed the child inside and out. The boy was about the same age as Su Can. He raised his eyebrows and glared at the fat man opposite him with an unruly expression. Behind him was a dirty child wearing tattered clothes. The child is about 3 or 4 years old. He is thin and small. He is only a little taller than a boy's knee. He has a sallow face and thin skin. There is no flesh on a face as small as a palm, and the skin is almost stuck to the cheek. His thin appearance made him look extraordinarily large, which made people feel distressed just looking at him. After Aunt Huang saw it, her motherly heart immediately overflowed, and she even forgot about finding her own enemies. Bai Qian-chun felt a little compassion in her heart when she looked at the child's little face, not because he was pitiful, but because his behavior reminded her of when she was still in the ancient martial arts world, before she was picked up by her eldest sister. The younger brother Qinjun she met when she was wandering. Qinjun also looked like this thin at first, a small one with a pair of dark eyes but very big. Aunt Huang couldn't stand the fat man's behavior of cursing such a poor child, but she didn't act impulsively. Instead, she first went to the people watching the excitement and asked what was going on. It turned out that this kid who didn't know where he came from had just stolen a huangji fruit from the fat man's stall and was discovered by the fat man. The fat man immediately chased after him, but the huangji fruit had already been eaten by the extremely hungry child. The fat man was furious and wanted to hit someone, but was stopped by the young man who saw injustice on the road. Then the situation at the scene became like this. The fat man cursed at the child and asked him to compensate Huang's higuo. The boy wanted to compensate the child for his star coins, but the fat man didn't buy it and even called in the security guards of the vegetable market. Although the fat man cursed the child in unpleasant words, he was still the victim in the end. Although the child was pitiful, he did eat secretly, so it was not easy for the security guards of the vegetable market to intervene in this matter. Aunt Huang wrinkled her face in worry and muttered, "Why is he not willing to ask for star coins as compensation, but he has to ask for the huangji fruit?" The cursing fat man in the middle immediately glared over with a ferocious smile. "Why? Because Huang's higuo is special. It grows in the abyss desolate star. Do you know where that place is? It is the most dangerous place in the Huayao Empire, one of the planets. I spent 300 million and waited for a year before the mercenaries successfully completed the mission and got it. This huangji fruit was going to be given to a big shot to open up business channels with him. Now it's over, it's all over. I just took it by mistake and put it on the stall, but within 3 seconds, this little beast stole it. The core has been swallowed. What the hell can I use to please that person and open up my business channels? What can I use to? I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 368. After venting his anger, the fat man finally couldn't stand it anymore. His whole body was like a deflated rubber ball. His ferocious and spiteful fat face also slumped down. He grabbed his hair in frustration, and his voice that was still roaring and cursing just now became dull and depressed. "For this matter, I spent a lot of money and effort to find out the person's preferences and needs. After that, I ran up and down, and even had to find a mercenary from Greedy Wolf Star to find him. Huang's higuo, am I wrong to be angry? This brat wants to pay for it even if he only gets a few thousand star coins. Ah, what a waste. My huangji guo costs 300 million, plus the effort I spent on this huangji guo. And to make some money, as well as the future business channels it will open, what can he lose with a few thousand star coins?" When the unruly young man opposite heard this, his face turned red and he looked a little unreasonable. Apparently he didn't know the value of this huangji fruit before. Even Aunt Huang was shocked by his cry. 300 million each. You can't even make a cent by selling that child. It's really expensive. She has lived to such an old age and still has some money in her account. I have never seen so many star coins. Mom, just when Aunt Huang was anxious and didn't know what to do, Su Kan quietly pulled the corner of her clothes, and Aunt Huang looked at him anxiously. "Son, have you thought of something?" The nearby onlookers looked over. Su Kan blushed and shook his head quickly. "No Mom, I just want you to see if that boy is Dian." Dian. Before Aunt Huang could react, the young man standing in the open space in the middle immediately turned his head and looked over. His fierce eyes swept around Su Kan's face, and suddenly it lit up. "Su Kan, it's you." He raised his long legs and walked towards the side, because he temporarily forgot about the child who was still hiding behind his legs. As he moved, the child's small body was staggered. Diane paused and let out a light tut. A thin and strong hand grabbed the child's collar and lifted him up. After the child stood firm, he then cooperated with the child's swaying, walking slowly over with small steps. And Huang also reacted immediately. Her eyes turned twice on the face of the young man who came over, and a surprised smile appeared on her face. He is really Diane, the eldest grandson of Granny Mao's family at the head of the village. He is an 18-year-old boy change. The little bastard who teased chickens and chased dogs has grown into a handsome young man. Diane's originally smiling and happy face suddenly froze, and he felt like his dark history was being uncovered. Bai Qianchun looked at the young man in front of him, his cold eyes filled with thoughtfulness. Diane, Marshal Dirong's son, was called this name. She didn't know his specific appearance. Marshal Dirong protected his son very well and no photos were left outside. There was no photo of him in Feng Yuyu's information, but the information said that Marshal Dirong's wife's hometown was in Kahua Star. It was a coincidence when they came. Su Can's family was also on Kahua Star, so there was a 90% chance that the young man in front of him was Dirong's son. The previous news from Feng Yuyu was that Marshal Dirong had a physical problem that was affecting his lifespan, and that his wife and son were secretly transferred by him. He didn't expect that she would meet him here. Bai Qianchun's eyes flashed with a hidden light, and she was thinking that there might be a way to get close to Marshal Dirong. The simple Aunt Huang didn't understand the young man's social death at this time, and her face still had the joy of reunion after a long separation. We haven't seen each other for several years. You mother and son have never been back to Kahua Star in these years. Granny Mao, the old couple, talk about you, their eldest grandson, every day. Thanks to the convenience of chatting and communicating now. By the way, has your father been transferred somewhere these years and it is inconvenient for him to come back? It's true that your dad was an officer. In which army he was in? He was transferred here and there all day long, and he didn't even make much money. As a result, you and your mother moved every now and then. Hey, Granny Mao and the old couple are the only ones with your mother. A daughter, she has such concerns. If your father and your mother hadn't begged them sincerely in love with each other, they would not have been willing to marry your mother to an officer who was precarious and doing secret work. Bai Qianchun raised his eyebrows. It seemed that Marshal Dirong had done a good job keeping secrets. Even such a close neighbor didn't know what he did. She really didn't expect that a dignified marshal would be so low-key. Diane scratched his head in embarrassment and seemed reluctant to mention his father. He said vaguely, "It was really inconvenient before, but my mother and I moved back to Kahua Star 3 months ago. He lives forever on the grass flower star. But after I went back, I heard that your family had moved to Jupiter. I didn't expect to meet you here." Aunt Huang laughed and said, "Yeah, I didn't expect such a coincidence. By the way, you are the same age as my Xiao Can. Are you going to take the military academy exam too?" Diane nodded without hesitation, "Yes." Aunt Huang's eyes suddenly lit up, "That's great. Which military academy are you going to get into?" "Our Xiaoken is going to the first military academy." Diane glanced at his former playmate Su Can. This boy had been thin and weak since he was a child. He was often sick. He was timid and almost never went out all day. He hid behind his mother and went up to the mountains to hunt birds and go down the river to touch. The skinny boy played by Yu Feng was completely different, and Su Can still hadn't awakened his powers. Everyone thought he was too weak to awaken his powers and could only be an ordinary person. It wasn't until he got better at the age of 11. He had just awakened a wood power, but among those with weak power levels, he was still at F level for several years. When he last saw Su Can, he was still at F level. Unexpectedly, he was now at F level. "I dare to take the first military academy, which is the most difficult exam." Su Can smiled shyly at him. Diane grinned. His friend was still as shy as before. He turned to Ant Huang and said, I am also going to the first military academy. I can take care of Su Ken during the exam. He slapped his chest loudly with a serious look on his face, thinking that he was the thin little brother who needed his protection. Ant Huang immediately beamed and smiled, that's great, it's good to have someone to keep you company. Our Xiaokan doesn't go out much, so I always worry about him. I feel relieved to have you take care of me. Your dad is an army officer, and he is trained by an officer. The children who come out will definitely be good. If anything happens to you in the future, you can ask Ant for help. Although Ant has moved now, she is not without foundation on Kahwa Star. De Yan's eyes suddenly lit up, he looked at her with a blush, then took 2 deep breaths and said, well, I have one thing that I need Ant Huang to help me with now. You live on Wuyuan planet, can you help me buy it, a few pills? My dad has a health problem. I heard that the star citizens of Wuyuan planet can buy them first through internal channels, and they can also get discounts. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 369. This Ant Huang hesitated, first tell me what disease your dad has and what medicine he needs. Although our internal star citizens have discounts, they are also subject to quota limits. You can't just buy as much as you want. Maybe my family has bought the medicine you want to buy before, but now there is no quota. De Yan scratched his head, with a bit of embarrassment on his face, and said hesitantly, I don't know exactly what disease he has. My dad won't tell me, and even my mom doesn't know. I'll just buy some to support my health. I heard that Mu Yuanxing's great healing pill is very good. It can cure any serious injury. Every time it comes on the shelves, it's sold out. I've been grabbing it for a month and I haven't grabbed it yet. I see my dad is there. The people in the Legion who fight and kill all day long may be injured, so they want to buy a big healing pill. Also, my dad's face is not very good, his lips are white, and his face is a little pale. He may be weak due to excessive blood loss, so I want to buy some more chi building pills and blood building pills to nourish his body. By the way, I listened to my mother. He said, my dad often doesn't sleep well at night and sleepwalks. I heard that Mu Yuanxing has a kind of sleeping pill, which is very effective. You can take 1 pill and sleep until dawn. There are no side effects at all. However, the quantity is rare and only taken every half month. Selling more than 100 pieces, I really can't grab this one. Bai Qianchun still maintained a cold-faced persona, but her ears quietly perked up. After listening, her eyes were filled with thoughtfulness. Marshal Dirong had done a good job of keeping secret. Even his own son didn't know what disease he had. He has a bad complexion, white lips, and sleepwalking. There are many diseases that can cause this disease. In addition, Fen Yuyu mentioned that this disease will affect his lifespan. It is still difficult for people to judge what disease he has. It seems that we still need to see Marshal Dirong himself to judge. Ant Huang here also answered De Yan's words with an embarrassed expression. They have the big healing pill here. Su Ken has to take exams and practical tests. The possibility of injury is very high, so they have big healing pills, and small healing pills. They all brought a bottle of these 3 kinds of pills for treating major and minor injuries with them in case of emergency. They could take out 1 or 2 pills and give them to him first. But they don't have the blood replenishing pill and the blood replenishing pill, and even the purchase quota is gone. Because their family has a son who is practicing bodybuilding techniques, the blood building pill and the chi building pill are necessary pills that the Star Master specially mentioned to prevent him from becoming weak due to excessive training, so his eldest son must take them. He had to take 1 or 2 pills almost every month. But of course they couldn't tell the outside world about this reason. They only said that their eldest son was not in good health some time ago, so he took blood tonifying pills and cheat tonifying pills to nourish his body, and used up his quota for this year. As for the sleeping pills, they have never used them at home. Since moving to Muyuwingxing, they have been breathing fresh air every day, looking at the greenery in their eyes, and they feel very comfortable physically and mentally. They taste delicious and they go to bed very early at night, and even more so when they wake up in the morning. They feel refreshed, so this sleeping pill is of no use to their family. The purchase limit is left alone, and there is no problem in giving it to Diane. Oh, thank you Aunt Huang. Diane tugged at the corner of his mouth and thanked him. Although he had tried his best to suppress the depression in his heart, it was still impossible for him to completely hide his thoughts at his age. The two pills he wanted to buy most were not available, and the young man's feeling of loss was gone. It's written on his face. The pitiful look with his drooped head was the same as that of the poor child hiding behind his long legs, holding his trouser legs with his little hands, and drooping his little head. Aunt Huang rubbed her hands dryly beside her, trying to comfort her, but there was nothing she could do. I have blood replenishing pills and chi replenishing pills. I can sell them to you at Muyuwingxing's preferential price. Do you want them? A cold voice sounded, and Diane, Aunt Huang, and Su Ken all looked over. Diane said excitedly, I want it, thank you, thank you. The corners of Baikan Chun's cold face curled up slightly, revealing a slight smile, you're welcome. Anyway, I have a lot with me. We can trade as much as you want. Well, let's have a bottle of each. And girl, do you still have more great healing pills? If you have more, I will also buy a bottle. I don't need Aunt Huang to give it to me. Su Ken also needs it for the exam. It's never wrong to have more equipment. Bai Qianchun glanced at him coldly, making Diane shiver, and then she nodded, yes. The excited Diane immediately put aside his first fear. The great healing pill costs 100,000 per pill, the chi building pill costs 500 per pill, and the blood building pill costs 600 per bottle, 10 pills per bottle. The discount price offered by Muyuan Star to the Star citizens is 20% off, totaling 808,800 Star coins. Diane glanced at his account, and his face suddenly froze. Oh my god, I almost forgot, he is a poor boy. Now he only has a total of more than 500,000 yuan in his account. These are the money he earns from his usual part-time job, as well as the travel expenses and tuition fees that his mother sent him because he is going to take the exam on the main star this time. But even with these star coins, even if he gave it all away, there wouldn't be enough money to buy it, not to mention he couldn't leave some star coins for tuition. Diane's face turned red with embarrassment, but he really didn't want to give up buying it. It's not like he didn't know how popular Muyuwingxing's pills were. This time, he was lucky enough to meet someone who was willing to sell them at a discounted price. It was given to him. There is no shop like this after passing this village. There were also those people around who were listening to the excitement with their ears perked up. One or two eyes looked over here with bright eyes. He could guarantee that as long as he said no or returned a few pills, these people would definitely rush to buy them. For a moment, Diane was in a state of confusion. What should he do? It would be inappropriate to call back and ask his family for help. His father's salary was all his mother's, and his mother had already spent a lot of money on the family. Part of it was given to him, and I definitely didn't have 300,000 left. As for his grandparents, he was too embarrassed to ask two old people to borrow their pension money. Alas, Diane thought happily in his misery, there is no one like the son of a marshal who is as poor as him. Fortunately, Aunt Huang was a kind aunt. She saw that he was short of money, so she took the initiative to lend him the money without much hesitation, which eased Diane's tangled emotions. Bai Qianchun watched Aunt Huang and Diane collect more than 800,000 yuan and transfer it to her account. Without saying anything, She happily handed the pills to Diane. That's fine, she doesn't need to take the initiative to ask for the credit. The two of them are not familiar with each other. If she takes the initiative, Diane might think that she has evil intentions and wants to get close to her. Seeing Diane put the medicine into the space like a treasure after receiving it, Bai Qianchun suddenly thought of it and casually mentioned it as if he was kind. If these medicines can't cure your father, you can ask Mu Yun Xing to Lord, please help me. Diane was stunned for a moment, and then looked over with a stunned look on his face, but I heard that the master of Mu Yun Star does not leave Mu Yun Star and does not treat other people outside. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 370. And Huang also nodded beside her and asked with concern, yes, Xiaochun, although our star master is beautiful and kind-hearted, we never help people outside. How can we treat Diane's father? Bai Qianchun gave her a comforting look, her voice still cold. Just because it was impossible before doesn't mean it's impossible in the future. I know some inside information. Mu Yun Star will launch a Mu Yun Star farming game on the Star Network. It will probably be launched in the next few days. As long as someone can play and pass the game, Mu Yun Star Master will personally take action. Customize a pill for the person designated by the other party. If Diane can play this little game and pass it, he can naturally ask the Star Master to help his father tailor a pill for treatment. Really, this is great. Diane was excited. For a person like him who has no money but plenty of time, this plan is the best for him. Diane clenched his fists excitedly. His father was saved. He would go and tell his mother about it soon, so as to save her from worrying about his father. As long as Mu Yun Star Lord takes action, his father will definitely be cured. I heard that Mu Yun Star Lord's magical pills can even break the superpower core of the next door legion and cure blocked tendons. His father's minor ailments will definitely be cured. No problem, Diane thought hopefully. The people around were listening to the excitement and were talking excitedly. Although the interstellar people were all in good health, they were not completely free of patients. Every family had one or two relatives, friends, or distant relatives who had health problems that were difficult to cure. And just by playing a game, the mysterious Mu Yun Star Master can do it himself. Who can refuse this? Even if no one in the family is sick and it's just a game, it's not a loss. So one passed it to two, and two passed to three. After a while, everyone in the market became excited, and there was a lot of noisy discussion. Even the fat man who was there just now and couldn't hold it in anymore and started wiping tears also widened his squinted eyes. Cocked his head and looked over, his little eyes full of excitement. Isn't this just another village? As long as he can play and pass the game, he can designate tailor-made pills for that big shot. Moreover, the reputation of Mu Yun Star Lord has spread throughout the Huayao Empire this year. It would be better to get her to take action than to give Huang Jiguo directly. After all, Huang Jiguo may not be able to treat the symptoms, but the pills made by Mu Yun Star Master himself are still tailor-made pills that can definitely treat the symptoms. Only Aunt Huang looked at Bai Qianchun with some worry and tugged at the corner of her clothes. Xiaochun, wouldn't it be bad if this matter was revealed early? Will the Star Master blame you? Bai Qianchun looked at her with a much gentler look. Don't worry, Aunt Huang, this matter will be announced on our Mu Yun Star's official website in 2 days. It doesn't matter if I reveal it in advance. It's not online yet anyway. By then, everyone will they all compete on the same starting line, and it's not easy to pass the game. After hearing this, Aunt Huang breathed a sigh of relief, but the people around her who were listening for information were worried. Then he sighed, yes, if the game was easy and everyone could pass it, there are so many people in their Huayao Empire, how could Mu Yun Star Master take care of them? Dian clenched his fists, his eyes full of determination, and was not affected by the news at all. What's wrong, What happened? Gao Yang led several market managers and squeezed in panting, not knowing what was going on here. Only then did everyone realize that the matter between Fatty and Huang's Higuo was not over yet. And Huang heard the voices of the administrators calling boss Gao Yang, and she screamed in her heart. This smooth and clever young man turned out to be the owner of this market. No wonder he looked so smart and clever. After Gao Yang came, he really had good adjustment skills. In addition, after Fatty heard the good news, his mood was not as broken and intense as before. After Gao Yang persuaded him with a few words, the atmosphere at the scene quickly relaxed. In the end, both parties took a step back. The fat man did not hold the child to pay compensation now, but signed an agreement with the child. If the child can pay back the 500 million he spent on Huang's Higuo before he turns 18, if he clears the money, he will be cleared. If he still can't, then he will have to stay and work under the fat man for 20 years when he reaches adulthood at the age of 18. Enthusiastic people such as De Yan and Ant Huang also helped to add some content to the agreement, such as working under the fat man for 20 years, but the fat man could not be abused, deliberately increase the workload, or do things that disrespect the labor law. And what if he was here? In the past 20 years, the child saved money and paid off 500 million in advance. Then he only needs to pay another 1 million in interest to terminate the agreement in advance. Set it one by one, for fear that the children will suffer a loss. The fat man also lost his temper. Did he hire an employee or an ancestor? But there is no other way. If he doesn't sign, his money will be in vain. Now the child can't even eat enough to pay back. But if he takes the child in advance, he still has to take care of him. It's not cost-effective to let him eat and drink. After the agreement was signed, the crowd gradually dispersed, and De Yan took the poor child back to change clothes. Uncle Su happily waved to the three people at the stall. There were giant apples and cherries on his stall. The cherries were big and juicy. He placed 2 transparent baskets. The apples were bigger than the head and were stacked into the pyramid shape occupies half of the stall at once. Obviously, this family of 3 has been prepared for a long time. They brought a lot of fruits from Wuyuan Star. The price is only 0.5 times higher than that in the Star Network store. Many people on the starship will buy it. No, most of the people who dispersed walked towards his stall, obviously attracted by their larger size than ordinary fruits. Coupled with Mu Yuanxing's reputation, a queue formed in front of the stall after a while. There were 2 teams. And Huang didn't waste any more time and quickly pulled Su Ken to help. They had already inquired with the star citizens who had been out there, and they could make a lot of money by selling some of the special giant fruits on the Jupiter star on the way to the main star. Anyway, they were idle on the way, and they could make 0.5 times the profit. The difference in price can also earn tuition money for my son. Su Ken also made a flower pot, and like other stall owners, he promoted fruit growth and put it on the stall to sell. In comparison, Baikan Chun's attitude next door is much more leisurely. She doesn't sell fruits one by one, but fruit potted plants. Needless to say, the business was not bad. The people who bought fruit potted plants were all rich people. She also made a small 100,000 in one day. A few minutes later, De Yan came back with his children to help Ant Huang sell fruits. His eyes were red. He was still whispering to Su Ken, it would be great if he was a wood-type superpower.